Hello guys, welcome to another day, another episode of Clues, Cues and Reviews. I want to apologize for all those guys that are watching this video that expected this video out sooner. As you know, we did get the actual chapter dropped officially through Scanlations yesterday, but with my current schedule of doing Fire Brigade of Flames and One Piece yesterday, unfortunately I had to schedule this video in now. And with the likes of Platinum End dropping recently, Hinamaru Zuma 54, this video, as well as a few others. There's quite a bit of content you will be expecting to get from me over the next coming days, so enjoy. But before getting into the review, I want to thank all those that are watching my videos, that are participating in any shape or form, especially those that are taking the time to subscribe, to comment, to like, to dislike. So I just want to just re-emphasize those points. If you like, leave a thumbs up, comment in the section below, but if you don't want to, you can put it on Reddit, Twitter, absolutely fine. Especially if you give me a thumbs down, please leave it in the comment section below. As always, I will leave a button over here that you can use to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and a link in the description below for you to use at your discretion. Without further ado, let's get into the subject. So, in summary, the chapter, again, a relatively simple chapter, re-emphasizing a few points that we already know, but yet giving us a glimmer of hope. A few things that really I thought about kind of was mentioned in the manga, which was good. Not to say that I know everything or anything like that, but just the idea that while Yuabak's sleeping, he's at his weakest. But I'd imagine when he's at his weakest, he's the most guarded. So the process of going up to get to Yuabak is gonna probably be the toughest ordeal ever. And that's part of what really happens in this chapter. So ultimately there's a few things that happen, but it's really focused on that same area where Kurosaki, Ichigo, Chad, Orihime, Ishida and Hashwat are in, and it is just a case of formalities there and moving forward. So before going into any further, I'm going to give this chapter a 7 out of 10. As much as I like certain points of it, it was missing that for some reason. It was one of those setup chapters which you enjoy, but you can't fully invest yourself in just yet. The elements that it leads up to are something to get hype about, but I will kind of get into that in my point. So point number 1. The chapter itself is relatively simple, so it's probably going to be more of a 3 or 4 point review than it is going to be normal 5. So there are going to be 3 major points and hopefully a little bit of an afterthought really. So point number 1, with Hashwal returning, we find out where he kind of disappeared to. So what he basically says is, I've seen through everything, and don't think you can use the Sun Gates to escape. That's not going to happen. I've already destroyed them. Ishida basically steps up and he says, look, Ichigo, you need to get out of here. Take Chad and Orihime and go. To which Ichigo basically says, like, what you doing? The standard Ichigo, Deme, Baka Yoru, Kono Yoru, all that kind of stuff. Well, actually that's Naruto and B, but he always says this Deme. But anyway, and basically he says, look, move on, don't worry, this isn't going to be the last you see of me. And there's an interesting point that happens after that, but I'll get into that in a second. So the fight's going to happen, and one thing that we do notice is that Hashwald, he's not really concerned about chasing against Ichigo. And he gets asked why. He goes, I've seen everything. I sound like a broken record now, but you know, he's gonna die, it's fine, don't worry about it. And then Ishida comes up with a good point, and I guess it's the idea of, you know, destiny versus a person's will. So a person has the ability to grow and develop and change the way he is. Is that part of destiny? Is that part of growth? Or do we have a chance of free will to kind of pave our own destiny? And that's the idea here that's kind of emphasized, in the sense that, because the thing that we call fate can be changed. And Hashwell's response is, because I haven't seen that face of yours before. So it gives a point that the fact that he hasn't seen this means he hasn't perceived this, which is a ray of hope for Ishida, because it says if he hadn't thought this, that means he hasn't fully grasped the powers of Yuhabak, of seeing the future. But yeah, that's point number 1. I'll talk about this a little bit more in the afterthoughts. Point number 2. Point number 2, effectively, what happens is Ichigo, Orihime and Chad run. Effectively, you could say this point is kind of relief, I guess, because the whole time we were thinking, why is Ishida gone bad? But deep down, you knew he had a good alternative motive, because you know that Yuha back is never going to be in his good books because he technically killed his mother. And Ichigo doesn't like him because technically he killed his mother. So that you know that there's got to be something there. There's reason why he's doing what he's done. And basically, the relief on Orihime to say that I'm glad that he's okay. Um, Unfortunately, the fight gets interrupted by guardians and a lot of them. It kind of reminds me of a game that I'm playing at the moment called Dark Souls 2, with a lot of like knights and stuff you kind of get through to get to the boss. It's kind of one of those situations. So there's a map in or a level you could say in that game called Hyde's Tower. And basically you've got to kill a load of people, go up the stairs, go around, go fight the bosses. So it's kind of reminds me of that you have to go through that kind of a trial, you could say, to get there. It gets interrupted, which leads me on to point number 3. So point number 3, Chad stays behind, and basically he says, don't worry about me, I'll take care of myself. And he gets help from a returning character, Ganju, the idiot that he is, got lost and somehow ended up here. It begs a few questions. How will they do? How will they fare? We are really gonna have to wait and find out. But I hope they don't skip this because I really want to see, how this fight ends up. So it's good that he's got back up, and they make the point that, and it's actually a horse racing type of phrase. He goes, when Ichigo's got his blinkers on, he's only going to head in one direction to the top to fight the boss, so we have to clear the path for him. So the idea of blinkers is with racehorses and race dogs, mainly with racehorses, because what they effectively do is they put things to guide the side of his eyes, the horse's eyes, to affect the peripheral vision, so when they're running, they're just running forward and they're not freaked out by the horses running beside them. So it's that kind of idea that it helps them focus direction on one goal and one goal at hand. So it's interesting to use that kind of analogy to describe Ichigo's drive, but an interesting one at the same time. Now, the arrival of Ganjo, or Ganju, depending how you want to pronounce his name, kind of makes me think a little bit, because when we saw him before, way before this whole thing started, we saw the outline and the back of characters that recently died in the main story. So what I mean by this is the Fullbringers. Where are they in all this situation now? What's happened to them? Are they dead? Are they out of commission? Or is there a plan? So that's interesting for point number 3. So that's how it ends. So you can see it's a relatively simple chapter, but I'm going to go into my afterthoughts now about what I think could potentially happen. So, as an afterthought, a few things come to mind with this. The way I see this happening is effectively those that we haven't seen much of recently, those that have either been defeated or just not been really much on screen, will have a kind of a role to play now. The way I foresee it is, if you think of it as levels, as Ichigo goes through levels and meets trials and tribulations, he will meet people that he's going to have to try and fight. And what's going to happen is people are going to intervene to take care of the situation for him to move on. People that I think are going to have, one of those examples are the Fullbringer, like I mentioned in the last part. We haven't really seen much of them. I'm hoping this is going to give a chance for my favourite Arrancar Grimjaw to step up. And now this would be a bit crazy. I would love to see Espada number 4 returned. Ulquira. I'm probably kind of grasping at straws with this one, but it would be cool to have him back and be on the good side, because he was just a really cool character. So, there were my thoughts. I'm sure Aizen's going to get involved somehow, and probably some of the other captains leading up to Yuha back himself. We know that the two main elites are still around. We know the third one's technically still alive, but it looks like a flamingo right now. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen with there. But that's all for me today, guys. So definitely a bit more of a toned down version for myself. It's been a long week, so I apologize for the lack of energy, but I wanted to get this video out there to show that I am still reviewing it. I'm still interested. It's not the most exciting chapter because I get really hype over things like this because I'm a proper fanboy when it comes to Bleaches and the One Pieces and the Narutos. Yes, I said Naruto. I like them all. I get excited when epic scenes happen, but this is one of those where it wasn't that fulfilling to get excited over. But the idea that we're moving closer to the battle between Yuha Bak and Ichigo is always a positive. That's all for me today, guys. See you soon. Peace. So you got to the end, eh? Good job. Very good job. Without tie-dye right now, I probably don't think I could even got to the ending. But thank you very much for doing that. This part of the section is really end credits. It's just a little bit of an extra video, really, for those people that may have missed something. So what we'll be doing is leaving links in this section here, or maybe this section here, and basically it's going to have a link to the last episode or chapter that I reviewed for this series, and a link to the playlist of all the previous reviews I have done on the Bleach manga in general. So feel free to do check them out, and as always, subscribe, take it easy, have a nice weekend, peace.